You ever notice how quiet a bus can get at night? The low hum of the engine, the occasional rustling of a newspaper. But something felt off this time. Something I couldn't quite put my finger on. It started when he got on. A man in a dark hoodie, his head low, hands shoved deep into his pockets. He didn't look up, didn't glance at the driver, just scanned his ticket and shuffled toward the back. I wasn't the only one who noticed. The elderly woman near the front clutched her purse a little tighter. A young couple exchanged uneasy glances. A businessman adjusted his tie, pretending not to stare. It was just another late-night ride through the city. People minding their own business. Some staring at their phones, others gazing out into the night. But the air was thick and heavy. Like a storm was about to break. The bus jerked forward, tires splashing through rain-soaked streets. The city lights blurred past. But my attention kept drifting back. To him. The man in the hoodie. He sat stiff and unmoving, eyes hidden beneath the shadow of his hood. Then something strange happened. The driver adjusted his mirror, eyes flicking up at the passengers. His gaze lingered. Longer than usual. His grip on the wheel tightened. I could see it in his face. He'd noticed too. But what was it? What was it about this guy that made the air feel wrong? The bus rumbled on, stop after stop, but the man didn't move. Didn't shift. Didn't glance up. Just sat there, perfectly still. Unnaturally still. Like a statue. And then, a sound. A faint clicking, rhythmic and subtle. Coming from his seat. The businessman glanced back, brows furrowed. The young couple leaned in closer to each other. The old woman fidgeted with her purse strap. The tension was growing, thick as fog. I swallowed hard. My skin prickled. What the hell was he doing? Then, the clicking stopped. Just silence, a suffocating pause that stretched too long. And then, he moved. His hand slid slowly, almost deliberately, out of his pocket. Something gleamed in the dim light. A knife. A sharp serrated blade, held just low enough to stay hidden. Just out of sight. But I saw it. And suddenly, everything made sense. The way he never looked up. The way he never moved. The clicking sound. He was ready. He was waiting. A cold wave of fear crashed over me. My breath hitched. My mind screamed at me to do something. But what? Maybe yell or run? Get off at the next stop? My heart pounded against my ribs. And then, as if sensing my fear, he lifted his head. Just a little. Just enough. I saw his eyes. Dead. Hollow. Empty. Like looking into a void where a person should be. And then, he smiled. Not a normal smile. Not even a cruel one. Just wrong. Lips stretching too wide, teeth barely visible beneath cracked lips. I wanted to scream. To warn the others. But my throat closed up. My body refused to move. The bus slowed for the next stop. The doors hissed open. An old man shuffled on, oblivious to the growing horror in the air. The driver's eyes flicked up again, lingering on the man in the hoodie. His fingers twitched against the steering wheel. And then, as the bus rumbled back into motion, the man in the hoodie did something that sent ice flooding through my veins. He turned, just slightly, and locked eyes with me. He knew I had seen. And he was daring me, to do something about it. The city blurred past. The rain beat against the windows. My breath came in short, shallow gasps. And the man in the hoodie just sat there. He was waiting. What was he waiting for? I forced myself to think, to act. My phone, I could call the police. But what would I say? There's a creepy guy on the bus with a knife. By the time they got here, it could be too late. Then, the driver did something strange. Subtle. But I caught it. He reached up and flipped a switch near his mirror. The emergency signal. My pulse jumped. The driver knew. He wasn't ignoring it. He was calling for help. But we weren't stopping. Not yet. I risked another glance at the man in the hoodie. He was still. Too still. And then, the worst thing happened. The bus lights flickered. For just a second, everything went dark. When they came back on, he was standing. The young couple gasped. The businessman stiffened. The old woman let out a tiny whimper. The bus driver's eyes shot up to the mirror. His hands tightened on the wheel. The man in the hoodie took a slow step forward. I gripped my seat. My body screamed for me to run, but where? We were trapped. The bus was still moving. And then, the bus driver slammed the brakes. We lurched forward. The hooded man stumbled, catching himself against a pole. The driver turned, his voice sharp. Get off. Now. Just silence. Then, the hooded man grinned wider. He lifted the knife, just enough for all of us to see. Why? We're just getting started. The driver's jaw clenched. His fingers twitched towards something under his seat. Then, flashing lights and sirens. The police was there. The hooded man's grin faltered. He exhaled sharply. Then bolted. He sprinted to the back, shoved open the emergency exit, and vanished into the night. The bus doors flew open, officers storming in. We sat in stunned silence. The nightmare was over. Or so we thought. Because later that night, when I finally got home, I found something in my jacket pocket. A small, folded note. 4 words, scrawled in shaky ink, see you very soon. Enjoyed this horror story? Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more nightmarish tales that will haunt your dreams.